Hello and welcome to our 10-day seated knee restoration course. My name is Dr. Ben and this is day number 1. Let's jump right in and get started. So the first thing that I'm going to want you to do for movement number 1 is you're going to scoot a little bit towards the front of your chair. And the reason you're going to do that is so that you can straighten one of your legs. So we have 3 different bones that make up our knee. We have our femur, which is our thigh. We have our shin bone or our tibia, and we have our kneecap or our patella. So the very first thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to make sure that our kneecap moves enough. Your kneecap needs to be able to move all over the place really freely in order for your knee to function well and for it to feel well. So the first thing that you're actually going to do is make sure that your knee is perfectly straight. You have to usually be at the front edge of your seat to be able to straighten your leg as much as possible. When it's in this position, you need to make sure that it's as relaxed as possible as well, so that all the muscles in your thigh are nice and relaxed, because if they're tense, your kneecap isn't going to move. So if you pinch the sides of your kneecap, it's very, very small. It's only a couple inches wide, but what should happen is your kneecap should be able to move side to side, up and down, and it should be able to move in a little bit of circles as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our kneecap and we're going to start just kind of jiggling it around. So the first thing you're going to do, we just call it a kneecap jiggle. And that's because we're going to start by moving it side to side, back and forth, about 20 times per direction. And then we're going to do the same thing top to bottom, and then we're going to switch to the other knee. So you can do it with both hands if you want, by using your thumbs to push back and forth. Or if you want, you can use just one hand and kind of grab it with your thumb and your first finger. It's entirely up to you. So for demonstration purposes, I'm going to use both my thumbs. You're going to end up having to lean forward just a little bit. Try to make sure you keep this whole thing relaxed. So we're just going to go side to side about 20 times. Don't push as hard as you can. The goal for the first day is just to kind of get it moving side to side. There's some creaking and some crunching in there. That's entirely normal. I'm not worried about there being any sounds. As long as you're not causing yourself any pain, it's entirely fine. So we're just going to push back and forth. A lot of people, and keep going as I talk here, a lot of people don't know the kneecap's supposed to move that much. And so they look at it and kind of get grossed out by it or feel like it's a little weird. But your kneecap is supposed to be floating. It's not actually supposed to be attached to anything besides muscles and tendons. So it's really important that your kneecap actually has the ability to move side to side an awful lot. And that's one of the things that makes the muscles in the area function well. And it also makes your actual knee joint itself feel better. So we're going to sneak up on around 20 repetitions where we go side to side, just back and forth. Once we have that done, you can either do this leg top to bottom or you can switch. What we're going to do is move the kneecap top to bottom. So the same thing, if you push the kneecap down towards your foot, and you're not going to dig very hard, you're just going to try to glide it down towards your foot. You're going to push straight down, and then you're going to go to the bottom and pull straight up. And if you push, you might even see it, if you're looking at the skin, kind of wobble around back and forth. So you're going to do about 20 repetitions again of up and down. Now try, as you're doing this, not to press straight back into your knee, but try to make sure that most of your force is making your kneecap go up and down, not backwards into the rest of your knee. Good. So by the time you're done, you should have a little more freedom of movement in your knee itself. So your kneecap should be able to move a little more side to side and a little more top to bottom. And the whole time you should try to keep this relaxed. So once we've done our first leg, we're going to change our orientation a little bit here. We're going to try to let the other leg go straight, try to get it to relax as much as possible, all the muscles in the area. And we're going to do the exact same thing, in that we're going to take this kneecap and we're going to push it side to side for about 20 repetitions. Now, if you've had a knee injury on one side and not on the other, there's a chance that the one that you've injured, even if it was 20 years ago or 50 years ago, your kneecap won't usually move quite as well on that side. So as long as it doesn't cause you pain, it's actually very important for you to get a little more motion into the side that's a little more restricted. We're trying to take the one that is a little stiffer and hopefully make it a little bit more like the other one. So don't be afraid to push hard, just as long as you're not putting a lot of force into it. It shouldn't be more force than you can put just with your fingers. But we are going to put a little bit of force in to make sure that it's moving. So again, your kneecap is going to start moving just side to side. So at about halfway, I'm just going to demonstrate the other way you can do it. It would just be almost as if you were grabbing a coin that was sitting on a tabletop and just sliding it back and forth the direction of your thumb and your big finger, something of that sort. So we've got about 20 repetitions in there. So once that's done, you're going to do the exact same thing. You're just going to be sliding towards your foot and back up towards your hip, back and forth like that. So you can put a little bit of pressure above and shove down. You can put a little bit of pressure below and shove up. And it'll usually just look like you're kind of rolling back and forth over it. But you should feel your kneecap underneath the skin shifting towards your foot and shifting back up towards your hip. And again, try not to put too much pressure directly down. You want to be pushing the pressure up and down your leg. Just a couple more. And there we go. So this is a movement that we're going to do repeatedly through all of the 10 days. And one of the reasons is it's something that can instantly change the way that your entire knee behaves. So it's very important that you have the capacity to just jiggle those around. And if you're doing this course, there's a good chance that your knees are bothering you at other times when you're not sitting here and watching me. So if ever your knees start to feel stiff or start to feel sore and uncomfortable, and you have the capacity to do this just to interrupt the stiffness and the discomfort in your knees at any point throughout the day. So if ever you feel like you just are having a little bit of a stiff time and your knees are not behaving particularly well, or if you just want to go for a longer than usual walk or hike or something of that sort, feel free to do this immediately before you go out and immediately after you come back. It should give you a little bit of instant relief. And as we go through this more and more, you should be able to push a little bit harder on your kneecap and do a few more repetitions as you go. So, exercise number 2. One of the things that the knee needs is it actually needs the right amount of fluid on the inside. And as we age and our knees get a little bit stiffer and they get a little bit more uncomfortable, one of the things that happens is we get less space inside our knee. It starts to close down a little bit and we get less of the right kind of fluid inside of our knee. So one of the ways that we can actually make our entire knee start to feel a little more lubricated is actually by stimulating all around the joint line. So if you're getting to the point where your knees have some arthritis in them and you're trying to avoid something like a knee replacement, or they're just stiff all the time, chances are that stiff around what we call the joint line, which is just a line that's straight front to back. It's where your shin bone meets your thigh bone. So in this area is one of the areas that actually helps to create fluid inside your knee. So one of the things that we're going to do is we're actually going to be kind of scraping in here using just the pads of our thumbs, the palms of our hands, and sometimes our knuckles as well if it feels really good. So what we're going to do is we're just going to spend maybe about 10 or 20 repetitions in all the different areas around our knee, just kind of scraping and moving them around a little bit. And a lot of that is to make sure the inside of your knee actually has the right amount of fluid and make sure that the whole thing feels great for you. So all I want you to do is the same thing. You're probably going to be a little closer to the front of your seat, but you can also do this a little further back if you want. You're going to take the pads on your thumbs and you're going to do something like this. You're going to aim your fingers down your shin bone and you're just going to kind of push top to bottom like this. So it's going to be on the sides of your knee to start. You're just going to push top to bottom and don't be afraid to really squeeze. You're not going to do any damage by doing this. So you're just going to push top to bottom in through here. And if you find it feels good, you can go a little further down your shin as well. So you're just going to be pushing and dragging in through here. If you find that feels really good and you're not giving yourself any kind of discomfort, you're also welcome to use your knuckles to do it. Now, you need to be more gentle with your knuckles, but that little bit of scraping that you can actually give yourself in through here with the edges of your knuckles will actually feel really good for a lot of people, and it should stimulate a little more release of what we call synovial fluid, which is the good kind of fluid that we want inside your knee that helps to lubricate them a little bit. So we're just going to be top to bottom, maybe 15 or 20 times. So once we've done top to bottom on one knee, we're going to switch over to the other knee, and we're going to do the exact same thing. So you can start with the pads of your thumbs. You can start even with the pad that's underneath your pinky finger or the front of your palm, something of that sort. And you're really just going to be pushing straight down, going from essentially right at the top here, straight down like that, in like an upside down horseshoe shape. So we're just pushing top to bottom. I'm going to use my knuckles because my knees like it if I scrape on them that much. If yours like it, feel free to do the same. One of the things you'll notice is that it might start to irritate the skin in your hands if you go too long. So please don't sacrifice your hands for your knees. Good. So we've done top to bottom on the inside and outside of both of our knees. So one of the things that we're going to do now is we're actually going to try to pull forward a little bit. So the same kind of area on the inside of our knees here, we're actually going to pull forward. So it'll look like this, like you're trying to drag things forward and through here. And if you're using your knuckles, it would mean that you're kind of dragging like this. So there's some spots that are naturally tender on everybody's knee, and that's entirely fine. Just make sure that if it's a really tender spot, that you're not putting a lot of force into that spot, that you're just trying to gently rub over it. And if it turns out that you don't want to drag, you can also just take your fingers and push. You can drag the skin or the pants or whatever you're wearing, just straight front to back, but you're going to put a little bit of force in like this, and you're going to be pushing front to back. So again, we're going to be doing 10 to 20 repetitions of just pushing straight front to back in here. Most people are going to be a little more sensitive on the inside of their knee than the outside of their knee. That's entirely normal. So you're just going to push straight front to back in through here. Once we've done somewhere between 10 and 20 repetitions on one side, we're going to switch over to the other side and do the same sort of thing. You can use the palms of your hand, you can use your knuckles, you can use the tips of your fingers, whatever's going to give you good leverage and is going to allow you to actually drag the tissues, the skin, and all that around. So I'm just going to do this way this time, where I'm going to use the pads of my thumb, and I'm just going to push in and squeeze and just kind of rub front to back. And again, we're going to do about 10 to 20 repetitions of that. Squeeze and roll this puppy around. Good. That is the end of exercise number 2. We're going to move on to exercise number 3. So as I mentioned early on, the knee is made up of 3 bones. One is your kneecap or your patella, you have your femur, and you have your tibia. So we already made sure that the kneecap was moving really, really well. So one of the things we want to do now is make sure that your shin bone is moving really well underneath your femur. So probably the easiest way to do this is to actually keep everything else still and to move your feet around, because wherever you point your toes will take your shin bone and will twist it a little bit underneath your femur. So what we're going to do for today is we are actually going to make sure we try to keep our knees still, if at all possible. And for today, we're going to do 1 foot at a time. All we're going to do is practice taking our foot all the way out to one side and back in again, and then we're going to switch and move on. So the reason I say we want to keep our knees still is the tendency is to do this for quite a few people. So what I want you to do is to just keep your hands on top of your knees, or if you want to make sure that you're keeping things still, you can even put 2 fists width in between your knees and make sure that you keep squeezing your hands, something of that sort. So we're going to start with the left foot, and all I want you to do is to try to keep your foot on the ground. So you're not going to lift up and you're not going to lift up. All you're going to do is to try to keep your foot on the ground, and you're going to twist all the way out. If a toe comes off here and there, it's not the end of the world. So you're just going to start, and we're going to do 10 reps where we're going to twist out to the side and come back. So for some people, this will put a little bit of stress on the inside of their knee. That's entirely fine. What most people will feel is a little bit of burning in the muscles here and a little bit in their thigh as well. That's normal. So I don't want you to push this as hard as you can. All I want you to do is go in a range of motion that's comfortable for you. But again, try to keep your knee from moving too much by keeping your hands in place. Good. So that's the left side. We're going to do the same thing on the right side. Try to keep our knees still. Going to take a foot all the way out. Good. So once we've done swiveling our toes to the outside with both of our legs, we have the option of swiveling our heel to the outside or swiveling our toes in. They do very much the same thing. So for most people, it's a little bit easier for us to swivel our heel to the outside, but I'm going to demonstrate both of them. So on one side, I'm going to demonstrate one way and the other on the other side. Because it's day one, I'd encourage you to try both, just so you can see if one of them's a little bit easier for you. So going back to the other leg, the one that we started with, what we're going to do is we're going to take our toes, lift them off very slightly, and we're going to bring them in and then back. And we're going to do 10 repetitions of that. A lot of people, this won't go very far. That's entirely fine. Even if you just go 5 or 10 degrees in, it's still going to have an impact on your knee and should hopefully make it feel better in the long run. Good. So that's option number one. You lift your toes and you bring them in. On the other leg, I'm going to show you option number two, which is that you lift your heel and you push it out. And again, we're trying to keep knees still as we go. Good. So what we should have now is the ability to start moving our shin bone and twist it a little bit underneath our thigh bone. And that's one of the things that can start to create a little more space and a little more movement inside our actual knee joint itself. So that is the end of exercise number 3. So for exercise number 4, what I want you to do is you're going to stay at the edge of your chair, and we're going to start by trying to lift our heel up underneath us. If you're on a chair that you don't have the ability to lift our heel up underneath us, what I want you to do is scoot to the front and turn off to the side so you have the ability to do it this way. So you might end up here because this is going to make it so that you can try to lift your heel off. Now this is going to be one of the more difficult exercises that we can do, and the lower your chair, the harder it is. So all I want you to do for now, if you can, is sit at the front of your chair and try to act as if you're bringing your heel towards your butt. If you can't get it off the ground, I still want you to try, because it's using the muscles in the back of your thigh that is actually going to help your knee. It's not necessarily the motion that we need, it's just as much the muscles as the motion. So we're going to do 10 repetitions, and we're going to start with one leg where we're going to try to kick our heel up towards our butt under as much control as possible. Doesn't mean you have to go as slow as you can. It just means I don't want you to use your momentum and shift your body weight. I just want you to use your muscles and lift up like that. So as a note, if you get clicking, clunking, anything in your knees that sounds a little off, that's entirely normal. We're not worried about any kind of sounds coming out of our knees. If you have a really painful click or a really painful clunk, that might be something you want to get checked out. But if you just have some popping that just sounds like a little bit of crackling in there, that's entirely normal. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with your knees. Just keep going through that. So we're going to start with 10 repetitions on one side of heel up towards our butt. Good. So if you have particularly stiff knees, or if you have knees with a lot of arthritis in them, this is still something I want you to do. I just don't want you to expect to have a big range of motion. And even people that don't have anything wrong with their knees, they just get a little stiff or sore, you still might not have a huge range of motion. A lot of people won't. So that's entirely normal, just so you know. Even if your range of motion is just a little bit, as long as you can feel the muscles doing some work, that's going to be great for your knees. So we're going to move on and do the same thing on the other side, where we're just going to kick our heel up towards our butt. And I want you to try to focus on control on this. Just make sure that you have this whole thing under your own control, meaning you're not using momentum to do it. And try as you're going to keep your toes aiming in the way that they started. So I don't want you aiming your toes in, and I don't want you aiming your toes out. I want you to try to bring your foot straight back, just as it started on the floor. Good. So that is it for exercise number 4. We've only got one exercise left, and as you may have suspected, I left the hardest one for the last. So it's not because it's an extremely hard exercise, it's just because something that can cause some muscle cramps in some people and takes a lot of muscle to be able to do it. You don't have to be particularly strong to be able to do it, it's just gonna make sure that it wakes up these muscles. So you can do this at the edge of your chair if you want, because this will allow you to start in the same position that we started day 1, which is gonna be here. One leg straight, the other leg bent. Or if you want, you can scoot back in your chair and do it from there. I prefer if we do it at the front of our chair, but if you need to sit back, by all means do it sitting back. So all you're gonna do is you're gonna have one leg straight up and down. I'd prefer that you put your hands on your leg here, and we're gonna keep this leg straight and we're gonna lift it up towards the ceiling. It doesn't matter how far it goes. If it goes up really far, great. If it barely makes it off the ground, also entirely fine. I care a lot more about the muscles that are doing the work to try to lift it than I do about the motion for now, because the motion isn't even happening at your knee for this movement, it's happening at your hip. So you're gonna take both hands, you're gonna put them on the bent leg, and then you're just gonna flex the muscles in your leg, and you're gonna try to lift off, hold for a split second, and right back down again. And we're gonna do 10 repetitions of that. Try to keep yourself from doing this and shifting your momentum backwards, and try to keep yourself upright and relaxed as you can, and use mostly muscles in your thigh to lift your leg up. As you may have figured out already, the hard part is actually bringing it back down. Just got one more. Good. So after we've done that leg, we're just gonna switch. Might wanna shift yourself around a little bit just to make sure you're in a comfortable position to do the same thing again. You're gonna put both hands on top of the bent leg, straighten one of them. You're gonna try to use your thigh muscles to lift your leg up off the ground. Got one more. Good. And relax. That is it for day number 1. I hope you've learned a few things about the knee, and hopefully you gained a few tools that you can use other times as well to give yourself a little bit of relief from your knee stiffness and pain. I look forward to seeing you on day number 2.